I honestly wasn't prepared when I saw that question. I was like, oh, I had just 3. But, you know, it is what it is. Some people just do it great, and it's really awesome. So thumbs up to whoever has 15 and more. And welcome to Buzzmed. So in today's video, I am going to be doing something nice and interesting, I hope, and it is answering 10 most searched pre-med questions, or 10 most searched questions that pre-meds ask. Okay, so starting now, I'm going to be using my iPad. Yes, it's an iPad, it's not a notebook, and I am going to be looking at these 10 questions and giving you my honest answers or opinions about them based on what I know and some little research that I did. So I'm going to start by talking about the first question, which is, do I have to finish all my prerequisites before I apply to medical school? And here the honest and simple answer is no. Medical schools don't expect that before you apply to their schools, you're done with your prerequisites. However, what they do require or need is that you finish your prerequisites before you start your medical school semester. It's very important, and if you're not able to finish that, I'm pretty sure you don't get accepted to the school anymore, and that's because they need to know that you can handle whatever it is that medical school is bringing on. So yes, it's definitely important that you do finish them, but no, they do not require that you finish your prerequisites before you apply to the school. The second question that I have here is, what is the best major? And honestly, there is no best major. Yeah. Because anyone who you major in anything you want to do, and you can get into med school. Med schools only require a set number of classes, and mind you, these are very different for each and every medical school. So be sure that whatever med school you want to go into, you're actually looking at what they require. But when it comes to getting into med school, there's no best major. I know you've heard people say different kind of stuff, all kinds of stuff, but none of them makes you, or none of them put you ahead when it comes to getting into med school. That's because whatever med schools require, as long as you're able to fulfill those requirements, they don't demand much from you when it comes to those classes. So yeah, that's the simple answer. There's no best major for getting into med school. But when it comes to being in med school, I would say that there's some of the science majors that can help you when it comes to, like, you know, getting a solid basic clinical science knowledge in there. That's when I would say maybe like the science majors are like really good in helping you maintain that basic knowledge. But when it comes to getting into med school, honestly, there is no best major. There is not. Any person who majors in anything can get into med school as long as you fulfill the requirements. So yeah, when it comes to just getting into med school, any major goes. So then it leads to the next question, which is, between your science GPA and your overall GPA, which one is more important? And I honestly didn't really know the answer to this till I searched a little bit, and it turns out that your science GPA carries more weight than your overall GPA, but the overall GPA is extremely important as well. You know, what happens is that medical schools want to be able to make sure that you can handle whatever it is that is coming. So I guess that's why they place, like, you know, a big emphasis on your science GPAs. And, you know, yeah, I mean, it makes sense that they want to be sure that you know what's coming and you're prepared for what's coming. So talking about this, then I would like to give a little advice to people who are not majoring in any science, who are not in any science majors, simply. That those, if you're not in any science major, then it means that you're trying to fulfill the requirements for med school if you want to go there. And that will mean that you have to do extremely well on the science classes that your medical schools require, because those are gonna play a huge role when it comes to, you know, like your science GPA, because those are the only things that are gonna contribute to it anyways. Sure that, you know, it's going well and you're doing really good when it comes to that. So the next question actually did really shock me, because I wasn't expecting to see that, but well, I saw it eventually. So the question is, what if I don't have 15 extracurricular activities when applying to med school? And yeah, like, I am really happy for people who have 15 extracurricular activities and over, 15 extracurricular activities and over. That's a really great accomplishment. Yeah, it's really awesome. But honestly, you don't need 15 extracurricular activities. When you do all these things, the main purpose of it to med schools is that you know what you're getting yourself into. You have a reason why you're getting into med school. You've experienced what it is like and you still want it. That's why medical schools, you know, like want to see how your extracurricular activities is gonna be like, you know, like volunteering hours, whatnot, or sometimes even doing church or like helping other people. It's just all about that. That's what medical school or medicine is mainly all about. So you don't have to do 15 extracurricular activities to relay that information to med schools. 15, how many did I have? 1, 2, I had 3 extracurricular activities. And you know, one thing I would say is that, you know, just like talking before, that is all about conveying that information to med schools. What med schools want is consistency and to be able to know that you know what you want to do. So take me for example, I had only 3 extracurricular activities, and one of them that was like very important to me was working in a nursing home. I worked there and I volunteered there as well. And I did that for 2 years over there. And you know, that's really enough to be able to tell the story of you being able, you knowing what you want to do, or you know what medical school is all about, or you know what medicine is all about. Jumping from one place to another, doing multiple extracurricular activities doesn't make you seem consistent, at least in my eyes. That's what I would see it as. Why can't you stay at one place? Or, unless you're traveling or a traveler or something of that sort. But if you're able to stay at a particular place for a long time, doing what you say you love, then medical schools can easily get that information or get that knowledge you're trying to give to them without having to do a ton of extracurricular activities to impress them, okay? Extracurricular activities are not there to test you. They're there for you to show that, you know what you're doing and you want what you want. So yeah, getting 15 extracurricular activities is not a must. Yeah, I would just say that. I honestly wasn't prepared when I saw that question. I was like, oh, I had just 3. But, you know, it is what it is. Some people just do it great and it's really awesome. So thumbs up to whoever has 15 and more. Okay, so the next question is, who do I ask for recommendations? Now, this is a very touchy subject, okay? When it comes to recommendation, there's one thing that I'll always tell people is that look for someone who knows you and can vouch for you, and you can vouch for the person. Now, the reason being that I've heard a couple of stories where people are like, oh, I asked this person to give me a recommendation, and it eventually turned out that the person gave them like really bad recommendations, and yeah, it ended in emotional tears. So I would say that's why I say that, you know, if you can vouch for the person as well as the person vouching for you, then you know that you're good. Okay, but if you're not sure that the person can vouch for you and you can vouch for the person, I would say don't just ask anybody for a recommendation. Okay, like this thing is very selective. Some schools have over 10,000 applicants and everybody's getting recommendations. So you need to get someone who's really good at writing and someone who really knows you. Okay, so that's why, you know, it's good to form relationships with your professors and who not at an early stage, because when you get to the point where you need a recommendation, it will come in really handy. So yeah, if you're not talking to your professors or like just skipping classes like that, probably try and tone it down, and yeah, try and be in a good relationship with them, because you're gonna need it for med school. Yep. Next question I have on here is, should I retake my MCAT? This is a very important question, but I would say it first of all depends on the school you're going to, and secondly, it also depends on, you know, the rest of your essay. Okay. If you have some schools accept, you know, like low MCAT scores with good GPAs and stuff like that. Or some schools just, you know, just look at everything else in a whole and then just kind of decide from there if they want to accept you or not. But I would say that if you have an MCAT score of like 503 or below, you probably might want to reconsider taking the MCAT, because getting into med school is very competitive. A lot of people are there, but that's why I'm also saying that it can also vary because of the rest of your essay. It's very competitive, but sometimes it might get really boring because people are always saying the same thing over and over again. But if you have something else in your application that makes you stand out, then for sure you can get in. But I wouldn't trust that it happens to everybody. So studying, you study hard. Sometimes you study hard and it just doesn't work that way, and it's fine. Just make sure that your application is strong, and if it's not, don't be scared to retake the MCAT. Some schools are going to take, you know, your final MCAT score that you took. Some people are going to do the average of it. It really just doesn't matter. But try not to take it so many times, because it will affect your chances of acceptance. Yeah, that's very real. So take that into consideration when you're studying for your MCAT and when you're retaking it. Okay, so the next question is, what do I write in my personal statement? So your personal statement is really personal. That's why it's called a personal statement. But it's for you to communicate to the medical school admissions team without them seeing you. Okay? And honestly, at this point, what I really feel is a lot of people write similar things. So med school admissions officers are like, oh, okay. So what you want to do is to stand out. Write a story, okay? Don't say, and my name is this and my name is that. No. A lot of people do that. But what you want to do is write a story, a catchy story at that, okay? A story that makes them remember you, okay? It allows them to form a skeleton of you as a person, right? It's not supposed to be extremely personal, as people say, but it's supposed to be something that tells a lot about you as a person. It's supposed to be something that can review a little bit of who you are as a person. And if you're able to do that, your personal statement will be really impressive and be able to stand out above the rest. Because a lot of people are just writing, oh, my name is this, or I did this, in a form of an essay, writing it as an essay, but you want to write it as a story. They're two different things. Writing it as an essay and writing it as a story. So a story is definitely going to save you. And yeah, that's what you should write in your personal essay, is something that is special or unique to you in a story form. Yeah. So the last but one question is, should I repeat what I write in my primary and secondary applications to med school? And I would say a big yes to this. I don't know, it might differ from person to person, but I did that when I was doing my applications for med school. And that's because it just reinforces who you are and makes people remember you. Okay. Now, saying that, I don't mean do a copy and paste from your primary application to your secondary application. Please don't. It's not gonna work. Okay, what I mean is, if you're talking about one story in your primary application, talk about the same story in your secondary application in a different point of view, okay? Your primary application, secondary application, make sure they connect. Basically, that's what I'm saying. Make sure they connect to each other, because it is building you as a person in front of the admissions committee. Okay, you don't want to say this and then that in your secondary application, they're contradicting each other, because they are going to be able to tell. So you want to be able to make sure that your stories connect. Don't say, oh, and in 2019, I was here in Ohio doing something, and in that same 2019, in that same day or like month or period or whatnot, you were in Maryland doing something else. Obviously, they're going to catch on to that. So please make sure your stories connect. And I would say you write about the same story, because it makes them recognize you, and it makes them flow or connect with you as a person. And it's very important in med schools, admissions committees can remember you. People in the admissions committee can remember you, because it's going to save you when it comes to those decision makings. So very important. And the final question I have is, when should I ask for a letter of recommendation? And the answer is as early as possible. Okay. Some of these professors are busy. Okay. Let's take it like that. Even we as students, we tend to be busy sometimes, and all. Professors are busy. You're not the only person they have to take care of in terms of like student-professor relationship. So if you want a letter of recommendation, as I said before, make sure you are in a good relationship with your professors. And then the second thing is, make sure that you get to them immediately or as soon as possible when you know you're going to need a letter of recommendation. Waiting for 2 weeks is not going to help you. Maybe a month, but honestly, to me, it's like, if you want to get the best recommendations that the person can give to you, then you need to let the person know as soon as possible, as soon as you know you're going to need a letter of recommendation, because it helps them prepare much. And then it also helps you, like remind them, give them the time to be able to think and observe you. Maybe they haven't like really observed you in some parts of your life or your student relationship. They can observe you during that time and put in the best word for you. But if you do 2 weeks or if you do a month, then honestly, you're not the only person. So you might be pushed to the back of the line. So all these things are like important factors that you need to think about. I hope that these 10 questions helped you in some way or gave you some sort of knowledge when it comes to like the pre-med journey, or when it comes to, trying to get prepared for med school. Yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you for tuning in and for staying. My name is Leanna, and you are watching The Buzzmed.